hi. Never mind that. Welcome back to Bad Hair Adventures. I'm here with Bella. And welcome to Lockdown Episode 4. Now, just a bit of thank you to everyone that's been watching the videos. It's much appreciated. And to address the issue of why we haven't done like a garden camp like everybody else, our garden's pretty much all concrete, apart from a small strip of gravel, which the dog tends to use as a litter box because she's a bit park shy, isn't you? Sure. So I don't really want to camp on the gravel either. So we've been struggling to think of ideas, trying to keep things original and interesting for you, provide some quality content. Today we're going to talk about some books that I have that help me, and it will address some other questions, because one of the ones I get a lot is, oh, I really wish I could get into that, I don't know what I would do. I wish there was a book that I could read to help me get into bushcraft or wild camping or this and the other. So I'm going to show you some books that we have and talk a little bit about them. So one of the first books I'm going to talk about is the Bushcraft Field Guide, Trapping, Gathering, Cooking in the Wild by Dave Canterbury. Now, Dave Canterbury does another book called, I think it's called Bushcraft 101 or something, and it's very similar to this book. But in this book, pretty much most of what you'll need to know in how to bushcraft is in this, as well as all of the things to do with trapping, gathering and cooking. So, bushcraft, it's this big daunting thing. It's not at all. Some really simple skills will help you immeasurably when you're in the woods. So, you know, like sections in this book, start the fire. It's all about skill set. I mean, this is quite a simple book. Dave's an American, and as such, he kept it very kind of precise, to the point, without a lot of fancy fluff in it. And it's a really good book. It gives you some really good, easy to follow diagrams and literature about the skills that you would need to do something like a pot crane, which is probably the only way I tend to cook my food when I'm in the woods. I'm going to show you a picture. Obviously mine is slightly modified, and there are different ways of doing this, but this is the most simple, so like it says, keep it simple, is the most simple type of way of getting your pot onto the fire. So not only does this book have things like that, but he goes on to do a section of edibles and things to avoid. And then he gets into other interesting skill sets like tracking and all sorts of things. You know, he shows you about how to hook up a gill net. All in a really quite simple, quite a thin kind of book. It's not, I would say it's fairly advanced, but it's not, it's beginner to advanced this will cover, as well as giving you recipes and such like. I'll try and find one with the recipes in it now. So you get these things where it says easy peach cobbler and stuff, and this is all made in the wild. He does these things. Foraging, it gives you some really good information. Trees, what to eat, what not to eat. But like with some of my other books, they're not for the UK. This is like when we look at the animal tracks again, you're getting striped skunk. Well, I'm pretty certain we don't have those here. Possum, pretty certain don't have those here. So there are things that you can ignore, but ultimately it's a very good book that's relatively reasonably priced. I believe I got this as a present from my friends Craig and Caitlin, who came to the woods with me, and I showed some skills from this. So that's a really good kind of starter bushcraft book, because it has everything you would need to know for bushcrafting and setting up fires and shelters and stuff, as well as how to cook in the wild. So that's my recommendation for like a bushcrafter book. People tend to associate survival skills and bushcraft as the same thing, and they're kind of not. I do have a couple of survival books. This is probably the most comprehensive one, is the SAS Survival Handbook. It's a fairly decent sized tome of really very important and could be life-saving information. I mean, but it's geared towards survival. So I've earmarked a page back here. Arctic survival. Not really necessary for the southeast of the UK, but good to know. You know, you never know when you're on a plane and it could go down. It also has some really quite in-depth things, so you go from that to first aid with quite clear and concise things to guide you with, so that you can learn skills. It's not quite the same as bushcraft. I think there's a balance that you should try and achieve in these things, and be rounded, so you know how to make a fire and you know how to make a shelter. We also know good first aid practice, and you know about environment and things like that. So that's another excellent book. This will teach you the things that this doesn't. Oh, I'm sorry. You okay? Go. Sorry. Dog. Needy dog, aren't you? What? So yeah, they're the two books I would say for skill set to learn some things that actually might help you in the woods or in the wild or in an emergency situation. One of the other questions I get asked a lot is how do we plan these things that we go and see, these ruins and monuments and ancient things, how do we find out about them? Well, and it was Mary actually, she had one of these books before I'd even met her. There's a series of books called The Wild Guide. What's the matter? Called The Wild Guide. We've got a whole stack of them, pretty much covering the entire country. What we tended to do with the more recent ones is we would buy, so this is Wales, we would buy a book and plan a week to 10-day camping holiday around things we could go and see, because not only do these have monuments in them, hill forts, sacred and ancient, wild swimming beaches, but they also do things like wild camping, pubs, campsites, and it gives you a map of the area as listing where the things are. So it's really super helpful. When we went to Wales, when we were in Pembrokeshire, this is basically what we would do. We would find a thing to see. So that is Flintstone Bay and Green Bridge. We would look on the map section. Number 6 is down here. We were at this campsite, so we would know it was pretty easy to find it. It was nearby, maybe about a mile and a half. So then we would do the trip, see the thing, take the photo, which you'll see now. And then we would just pile up 6 or 7 of those that would be in the same place with maybe a pub somewhere. And those would be our day's adventures. All right, Pickle. She had a bath yesterday, so she's a bit needy today. Keeps touching me. Why are you talking to the camera and not me? Thank you. And as to our other things I suggest. So yeah, wild guides or other walking books with points of interest in are always a really good way to create a really memorable adventure or journey or day trip, you know. So that's something to consider, is these wild guides or similar type books. They're really helpful if you're struggling to find inspiration for things to do, go and see. You don't want to go to the same places all the time. Buy one of these books. You'll find things in your local area. I mean, we've got the local area one as well. In your local area, you never knew existed. So it's always worth having a look. And that leads us to the last type of thing I would suggest that you buy. Buy an OS map of your local area. So we bought this. This is the Ipswich Felixstowe Harwich, the Explorer. It's kind of like a waxed plasticky paper, so you can draw on it without damaging or ruining it. And when we started doing the Stour and Orwell Valley Walk, which is a playlist of videos you could check on the channel, we wanted just to make sure where we could park, where the things would be, and this map really helped. I mean, it also helps that on the back of it, it shows you the path. So yeah, get your local OS map. There might be things near you that you've never even considered looking at or going to. And I mean, they aren't cheap. Something like this is about £13 to £14. But, you know, it's light. It looks like it's water resistant. It goes in your pack really nicely flat. And it could be really handy. It could be really valuable to you. So that I would suggest getting one of these for your local area as well. You probably have, and I'm preaching to the choir. But so that's just some of our books, some of where we get our inspiration from. Really. Get in the comments if you have any suggestions for books that we should potentially check out. And thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel by liking and commenting. I love getting comments. It's like one of the highlights of my day is getting a comment to, I mean, even if it's a cheeky one, I'll still comment back. So yeah, we're obviously multiple weeks into this lockdown, and it really sucks. It really does. It's beginning to affect my mental health, not being able to get out. All day I've been wandering around, being really moody with Mary, who's probably glad to be at ASDA right now. Because I can't get motivated to do anything. I just want to go out and spend time in the fresh air with the dog, don't I? But obviously we can only do an hour a day. And that's kind of bullshit, really. I don't see how going wild camping on some spit of sand in the middle of nowhere isn't as isolated as staying at home on a terrace road where the next 3 gardens we're all having barbecues and have all got music on. That's different. That's why I'm shooting this in here and not outside. So yeah, you know, I guess we just have to keep on trying to keep together and keep our heads. And you know, it's looking like in 3 weeks time they'll review it again. Wonderful. So there'll probably be like an explosion of wild camping videos when the lockdown comes off, because everyone will just be every night going out into the wilderness. And I look forward to it, because I've kind of been missing it. Right guys, well thank you for watching and for listening to me waffle on. I hope that gives you some ideas, answers some questions. And we look forward to you watching the next one. Get in the comments. Like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you soon, no doubt. From the dog to me, and to Mary, who's obviously at ASDA. Stay safe, be clean, don't panic buy because there's no bloody need, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.